Armadas y de Orden han actuado en el día de hoy solo bajo la inspiración patriótica.
Almost 40 years after the violent overthrow of Salvador Allende's government and the start of Augusto Pinochet's military dictatorship, documentarian Patricio Guzmán returned to his homeland from whence he was exiled and produced his second Chilean trilogy. His first, The Battle of Chile, released in Europe only months after his escape, meticulously unveils the political and social unrest that led up to the coup. But this time, Guzmán's initial matter-of-fact style does not make a reappearance. His spirit of resistance, however, remains unwavering. In what is often referred to as his Chile Trilogy, Patricio Guzmán offers an allegorical insight into the troubled collective memory and conscience of Chile. He breaks this task down into 3 layers, and subsequently attributes them to 3 synecdochic topographies. In Nostalgia for the Light, the arid Atacama Desert. In The Pearl Button, the Pacific Ocean complementing Chile's long-stretching coastline. And in the Cordillera of Dreams, the majestic Andes Mountains. Despite each film delving into different concrete and abstract territories, they all center around one specific circumstance: the open wounds left in the wake of a ruthless dictatorship. Coming into these films, the first thing that strikes is the slow-paced and almost contemplative editing. His style is what I like to describe as lingering. Accompanied by the poeticism in his narratives, Guzmán applies weight to his thematics, transcending a singular topic such as historicity or dictatorship, and rather explores the impact such a traumatic past has on a country, on a people, and on himself. But more than that, he explores the very concept of memory, reflexively turning the attention to the film camera, comparing it to the archaeologist, the astronomer, and nature itself, interpreting his films as palpable memories. But a topic that is given even greater importance in his films is neglect. One of his interviewees, Miguel, a survivor of the concentration camps under Pinochet, spent most of his time locked up, memorizing each space so as to reconstruct them in drawings if ever he was to be released. Upon this interview, Guzmán makes a remark.
Miguel y su esposa son para mí como una metáfora de Chile. Él es el recuerdo, mientras que Anita es el olvido, a causa de la enfermedad del Alzheimer.
More than remembering, then, Guzmán implores the audience not to forget, comparing it to disease that strips you of your identity. In that sense, Guzmán's choice to aim the camera towards the Chilean scenery seems fitting. Nature becomes a personification of the memory of Chile as it, sometimes quite literally, preserves the remnants of the past. As with the vast sceneries that in their own way elicit retrospection, Guzmán's style is equally effective when turned to more tangible subjects. To linger the camera on the hopeless plight of the widow who has yet to recover her husband's remains, or to recreate one of the abhorrent ways people were both executed and concealed during the dictatorship, or to wander through the abandoned building in which the orders to sell his land, kill his people, and rob their future were given, as if venturing into unholy ground, opening Pandora's box, and demystifying the almost Lovecraftian horror that is their memory. At the same time, the circumambiency of magnificent landscapes is constantly in the background. This juxtaposition of beauty and horror reflects Guzmán's reconciliation with his birthplace, but also the reality of Chile, its history and rediscovery, its past and its present, Chile is presented to be plagued by this dichotomy that impedes the spiritual recovery of its people. In an attempt to bridge these gaps, then, Guzmán explores the very real questions that most do not dare to ask. How do you act when you walk past the man who tortured you in the street? Or when your native identity is unacceptable? Or when your hunt for the remains of your loved ones are considered a nuisance? What do you do when remembering becomes a problem? Again, we return to Guzmán's stylistic presentation. It becomes the very answer to his questions, as he decides to not shy away from the hurt and pain of memory, but linger on them until they are understood. Although the underlying topic is one pertaining to the past, Guzmán does not simply summarize history. He instead shows us the impacts of not only the terrors of a dictatorship, but the terrors of having to forget it. They show us what happens to a people who don't know how to deal with their past, a people torn between wanting to get closure and wanting to move on. Guzmán also relates his personal perspectives, his relationship with a place that partly only exists in his memory, his attempt to reconcile days lost, and his regrets and what-ifs. By remembering the people who fell victim to the dictatorship, Guzmán does not merely evoke their suffering. He also reminds the viewers of their courage, resistance, and hope that, despite having a history seeped in calamity seemingly too great to overcome, Guzmán asks the viewers not to shy away, to resist the urge to forget, and thereby rediscover their identity. And so, as film critic Justin Chang points out in his review of the Cordillera of Dreams, to turn the camera on rocks and glaciers may be a less intuitive form of resistance, but one that Guzmán invests with its own powerful meaning.